And welcome to the latest episode of Sports Talk Soup. Alongside Blair Glover, I am your host, Vito Jerome Churko. And I guess the better way of saying it is the co-host of Blair Glover, Blair on Air, right? On Twitter. I am at Vito Jerome on Twitter. Blair, lovely to see you here in studio this week. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm good. The weather around here is changing. It's feeling great. How about you? I like your haircut.
Thank you. I appreciate you noticing. It means a ton to me. And
good.
I respect your opinion, Blair. So appreciate hearing that from you. And now things are on the rise, I think, with Detroit Mercy men's hoops as well. A new hire has been made finally. Took like 2.5 months, the coaching search to replace Bakari Alexander. Flamed out after 2 years, won 8 games back-to-back seasons, 24 losses this past season, a single-season record for losses at Detroit Mercy. So he wasn't good enough. Then had a controversial mishap, as you know, on the practice floor. Got him in trouble, got him suspended, missed like 7 games. And as a result of all those factors added up, Blair, he got ousted. Now we have a new head man in Mike Davis.
Yeah.
And formerly of Texas Southern, UAB. And we have that to show off, his face and picture and name. Welcome to Detroit Mercy, indeed. Mike Davis, a new head men's basketball coach at Detroit Mercy. Blair, and with all that being said, what do you think about the hire?
You know what? You were there with me at the press conference today, and the energy felt great. He seemed very passionate about getting here and changing things around. And one of the things that he did not fail to mention is that it was hard for him to come here, to be as committed to Texas Southern, that program. He told his family, we're staying in Texas. He told them that, who knows how long ago. And he talked about how difficult it really was to come here to Detroit. Not anything against the college or the town itself, just the fact of the commitment that he had with his prior university and his family. So for him to come here after that really, I think, speaks volumes about what his commitment will be to the program here.
I think, Blair, he was pretty darn adamant. He didn't want to leave Texas Southern and uproot his family and move all the way to D-Town, as I like to call it, Detroit, to coach Detroit Mercy. And I mean, this program has not been on the rise or even looking a little bit solid in recent memory. Under Bakari, at the end of Ray McCallum's tenure at Detroit Mercy, too, the team was not, moving in the right direction. Bakari didn't have the program moving in the right direction. Once again, he got ousted. Now you have this new head man in Mike Davis, the 22nd head men's basketball coach in Detroit Mercy history. He has 14 winning seasons on his resume, 14 trips to the postseason, including 9 trips to the Big Dance, as in the NCAA tournament, and then 5 additional trips, to the NIT. So he's gotten it done with numerous programs, and he started off his head coaching career at Indiana, IU, replacing the legendary Bob Knight. So being the successor to Bob Knight and actually leading IU to the Final Four at one point, I believe to a championship game in his second year on the job at IU. And, man, he did a hell of a job, really, you could say, at IU for the most part, but then resigned after, I think, 6 years on the job at IU because I don't think he could deal with the fans and their dismay at him for maybe not leading the team in the direction that Bob Knight was and bringing the same amount of energy. I think it actually boils down to that his energetic voice isn't what Bob Knight's was at Indiana. Mike Davis is more of an even-keeled, quiet guy to himself, and he expressed that to me when I asked him earlier today, too, at the press conference, about one unique thing about yourself off the basketball court that you wanted to let us all know about. He said, he's a quiet guy. You can tell he's very passive.
I was going to say, you could feel, he's probably passive in his public approach, but you can also tell he's very hands-on and he seemed to be, it's interesting, the vibe he gives. He gives like that stern, feel for his players and his coaching, but he also seems patient and, like you said, fairly quiet. So I think that he's really more of an action person than a words person, which is, hey, that's A-okay with me, especially when you're talking about getting wins.
And how about this, Blair, too? He told me, too, in my interview with them, that he actually expects a team to make the Big Dance this year. Those are his expectations already in year number 1 on the job at Detroit Mercy when they just won only 8 games. Back-to-back years, actually, too. And the team right now has like 7 guys transferring or graduating and whatnot. So all those factors added up. You would have to believe that really the ceiling for Detroit Mercy is 10 to 12 W's maybe this upcoming season, which would be good. We'll be moving in the right direction, as sad as it sounds for Detroit Mercy in the state of its men's hoops program. 10 or 12 wins would be moving in the right direction. And I think that's all you truly can expect out of Detroit Mercy in the first year for Mike Davis.
Well, you know what? You can set your own expectations. The thing is, when you set the expectations, again, we talk about actions, And he talked about how his son in 2 weeks got up 60,000 shots. That's bananas. But you know what? He's going to bring that type of mentality to Detroit Mercy and the team. I had a chance to talk to a couple of the guys, and I said, you know what, guys? How you feeling about this? They said, we're feeling good. I said, but you know what? He talked about being in the gym at 1 and 2 in the morning making shots. I mean, he's going to come in probably kind of stern. And you know what they said? That's okay. You kind of need that. When you are looking to make a change, sometimes it has to be drastic. When you want to win, you have to do those types of things. So I think everybody's kind of looking forward to a new approach to get towards winning.
I think almost a new, quieter, gentler approach, because we know what Bakari came into trouble with at practice. He told one of his players to grab him in a private area, obviously got him in trouble. And I think that was the last straw for Bakari at Detroit Mercy. Mm-hmm. And Mike Davis, now, he also said that really how he sees things is that he started at the end. What would be the end for a lot of guys in their coaching careers. As he started off his professional coaching career, collegiate coaching career as a head coach at IU of all places. That's a place that a lot of people end up at the very end of their coaching tenures. He started off there right away, then went to UAB and to Texas Southern. Texas Southern is typically the place where you start off your coaching career. Then you move yourself up and move up the ranks and go to UAB and end up at a Big Ten school like Indiana, Michigan, or Michigan State. So really, he started off in a big-time pressure situation right off the bat as an NCAA D1 head coach. And you got to give him a lot of props once again for going into IU, fresh, no prior head coaching experience, and doing a fairly solid job and getting his team once again to the NCAA tournament. And he's won everywhere. And at this point, Detroit Mercy would just like to get to the big dance one time in 5 years. So if he can do that, he's going to be like a success story overnight at Detroit Mercy, Blair.
Yeah, I definitely respect his approach. And they talked a lot about his theory and thinking about seeing things from the end and reverse going to the beginning. And Dr. Robert Viles talked about how it's such a unique perspective on things. And I look forward to kind of understanding that thinking a little bit more as the season goes on. But I asked the coach, I said, since this is your style of thinking, have you had a chance to decide what the end looks like for Detroit Mercy? I mean, he's only been here for maybe a week, if that.
Yeah, a couple of days or something.
His first meeting with the team actually happens after the press conference is probably going on now. So he hasn't even met the guys yet. So I'm saying, have you had a chance to consider all of the variables and think about what the end looks like? And he gave me a couple of things that would describe what the end looks like for Detroit Mercy, but ultimately he says whatever position he steps into, he's looking to make a title.
And he also brought up in so many words that what can you say that you're doing that nobody else is doing? And that's a big step forward, I think, for many guys. If they get that mentality, adapt to that mentality, and execute that approach, well, they can become bigger and better players, too, as they go into the first year under the leadership of Mike Davis at Detroit Mercy. And then, like you said, it's almost like practicing and being willing to put in the work and time when nobody else is doing so, maybe at 1 or 2 a.m. And it made me think about, well, what am I doing at 1 or 2 a.m.? I'm in bed on a weeknight or maybe at the bar or club or something on a weekend. So I'm not putting in the work and time. And really, though, on a serious note, you have to give credit to anybody willing to dedicate themselves so much to their craft. They're willing to be putting up shots at 1 or 2 a.m. Let's think about that and the dedication level right there from Mike Davis. And I think the winning culture that he will instill in his team at Detroit Mercy as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Coach Davis talked about routine. Like, key word is routine. He said if you look at the successful basketball programs that you want to beat, if you look at successful players, it boils down to the routine. Even in business, if you look at successful business people, it's going to boil down to routine. And I think that this is going to be something good for the program, for the guys that are there to help establish the routine. It's going to be great. It's a structure for the new players that they recruit. And, I didn't get a chance to ask him about recruiting. I don't know if you spoke to him about that, but the idea of that is maybe a little bit challenging right now. I don't think he's worried, though, because he said in the last 6 years, he has not been on the road to recruit.
How about that?
How
he recruited out of his backyard, then at Texas Southern. And that's impressive. Now, he might have to be willing to recruit a little bit more of the Midwest as a whole and not just the city of Detroit, maybe with this gig. But still, it tells you something about him and his approach right to recruiting, I guess you could say, Blair.
It does tell you something about his approach. Maybe that type of thinking is good just to build that relationship with the players you have. But I would want to know how he's going to handle the recruiting approach here, being that it's, a new program and he's establishing himself in general in this area. How much is he going to rely on his assistants to kind of do that recruiting for him? And then it wouldn't be a surprise, right, if he brings someone up from Texas.
And it sounds like he's going to bring his entire coaching staff, or as many as maybe he can bring on board at Detroit Mercy. And I asked him point blank, are you going to bring back anybody from the past regime? Doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. So Jermaine Jackson Sr. probably is out of town, meaning his son's going to transfer as well. I mean, obviously, if he's moving to another place to be an assistant coach somewhere else, guess what? His son, Jermaine Jackson Jr., also is on his way out of town. And I think you can expect that to be the case at this point. And a lot of people already have transferred or once again have declared for the draft or have graduated. So a lot of moving parts. And it's going to be a fresh team. I mean, full of new faces next season at Detroit Mercy, too.
Yeah, you've got some new faces, but you also have some staples in Josh McFarley, Gerald Blackshear, Carter. Those guys they're sticking around, and anybody who's sticking around obviously believes and they're willing to make the sacrifice to get it to the next level. I'm really excited to see them play next year because you want to see what type of coaching style Coach Mike Davis brings. And he talked about playing a rigorous schedule.
Very tough non-conference slate. I mean, what if they do that, bring those kind of teams like Duke and UNC to Callahan Hall? Now, it costs a lot of money for that to happen. But if it did occur, think about how battle-tested his teams would get going into Horizon League season. So think about that, the built-in advantage right there for a squad that plays in the Horizon League. And now to kind of pivot a little bit, because you started to talk about recruiting and recruiting on a collegiate level at Detroit Mercy. How about recruiting NBA-wise, recruiting LeBron James's services? We got to get into that. It's a highly debated topic. Where is he going to land, Blair, this offseason? It sounds more and more likely he is out of Cleveland for sure. And I saw the lackluster performance from his Cavaliers squad supporting Castor in the finals. They got swept. They didn't look good. I mean, he scored, 50 in game one, something like that. All these triple-doubles, and they still get ousted in 4 games. And they looked poor. I mean, they were pathetic in game 4 at their own home floor. And they showed no resilience, right, exerting no effort, and they got burnt. And they were done in 4 games. And honestly, I think LeBron James, he is so far already out of Cleveland at this point.
Well, Vito, I'm going to come. Everybody is talking about where should LeBron go? Where is he going? As if it's not an option to stay. So I can't tell you whether he goes or he stays, but I can discuss reasons why I think he could or should stay. And what you have to look at is that LeBron James has been a GM, he's been a coach, and a player, right? I think that organization works with him well to allow him to recruit the players that he wants. But what happens when Kyrie leaves mid-season, this is a personnel change that you cannot focus on. LeBron had to focus on being a player on the court to try to even make Eastern Conference Finals. So I think you find yourself in an offseason. LeBron can return back to the drawing board along with the management and coaching staff and really talk about which players they want to bring in and how to rebuild that team. He does, in my opinion. I think we all could agree that Cleveland is probably indebted to him in that way, and they're willing to work with him in that way. Not to mention, one of his goals is to be able to play with his son in the league, and that's about 4 or 5 years out. Where do you think he has the most likelihood at this stage to be able to draft his son? Other than Cleveland.
Somebody that's going to be doing poorly maybe in the near future, maybe long-term future, if his son's going to end up being this highly touted prospect drafted high in the draft. But honestly, I'm more worried about some other factors, I think, for LeBron right now. And I think the dynamic of owner and player between him and Dan Gilbert in Cleveland, well, he doesn't like Dan Gilbert whatsoever. I think you saw when they clinched the Eastern Conference Championship at the end of the run, they were walking to the trophy ceremony. LeBron bypassed Dan Gilbert. He went out for a handshake. Dan Gilbert, brought out his hand, and LeBron James was like, I'm not having that. I'm not shaking your hand. And
Well.
he didn't do so. And there's been some bad blood now for years built up from that first stint for LeBron in Cleveland when he made the decision ultimately to leave for South Beach and play for the Heat with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and all those fellas. Mm-hmm. He burnt some bridges there, maybe napalm some bridges, and Dan Gilbert kind of did as well in that relationship between the two. So, and then Dan Gilbert, I believe, supported Trump. LeBron didn't like that. A lot of factors there, if you really want to break it down for why I don't see him returning to Cleveland. And then that supporting cast, and maybe there's a buddy or two he would like to play with, such as Chris Paul in Houston. How about that possibility?
Definitely hear that as an excellent possibility for him to be able to go and play with Chris Paul in Houston. But then is there a dynamic conflict with James Harden in the way that Harden plays? I mean, defensive styles are different. So Chris Paul, definitely, but how does all of that come together? But that is a team I do hear kind of consistently. And then I'm also hearing West Coast, like Lakers. You take some of the weight off of LeBron's back in the sense of in Cleveland, everybody expects LeBron. His name is in conversation. It almost became like LeBron Cavs instead of Cleveland Cavaliers. So in LA, you've got Magic, who's on the professional side and recruiting and things like that. And I think that one, it may give him a little bit more freedom in the sense of just not having so much weight from the media. There are other people that you can look at in LA. And while we're talking about that, the star power of LA, the business connections, the potential growth of his brand, the access, all of that is a good probably reason why he'd go out west too.
How about Space Jam 2? It might come to fruition. LeBron James being the leading man. He can build his business, maybe go into film. I mean, look at that. Can become a movie star because of LA and all the opportunities that come with it. And then Magic Johnson, the Showtime Lakers, that theme and tradition there built up in LA, all the championships. And I think LeBron James really wants to become a part of that lore, Lakers lore and history. And the thing is, KB24, Kobe Bryant, might not be too happy about that, though. That's the thing, because he's going to be taking the thunder, stealing it, and the attention from Kobe, the legendary figure from past with the Lakers, who has 2 jersey numbers retired because he was so great with number 8 and 24, and deservingly so, I guess. If you're going to deserve somebody's 2 jerseys that they donned, I guess Kobe Bryant's the guy you do that for. But now, if LeBron goes to L.A. playing for the Lakers, you do, I think, see LeBron stealing some thunder from Mr. Kobe Bryant.
Vito,
what do you think about
you're
that?
shaking some things up here today. Some dynamics that I hadn't really thought about. You know what? I don't think Kobe would be worried about that at all.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Kobe's record is proven. It's solid. It's locked in. There's nothing else that can change or be altered about Kobe's legacy. So whatever LeBron comes to do in LA, if he were to go to LA, it's like a new era. It's not affecting anything or taking away Kobe's stardom or his efforts. It's just like saying somebody can come. Oh no, I'm not going to start that. Never mind. I'm not going to start throwing names out here. You always end up, it seems like, MJ, LeBron, Kobe. I'm not going to throw that.
The debate all day long, every day of the year, 365 days a year, we could debate the GOAT debate, and let's not do that.
Nope, don't want to do that. But what I am saying is, ultimately, Kobe was invested to the Lakers. That's his team. I'm sure he wants to see them win for 50 years to come. So if LeBron can help with that tradition of winning, I think he'd be okay with it. And I definitely don't think LeBron is going to step on Kobe's shine.
And remember, though, Kobe never recruited players in L.A., never wanted to really get anybody to jump on the bandwagon with him, wasn't willing to do that, wasn't really willing to make players better surrounding him. Well, LeBron James is a great facilitator, too, great floor general. He makes everybody around him better. Now, maybe that's up for debate a little bit now, looking at the Cavs past season and how the supporting cast didn't do anything throughout the playoffs, really throughout the regular season. And one other note/factor to bring up, he dealt his buddy Dwayne Wade. He brought him on board in Cleveland, then traded him, said, forget you, you're back in Miami. So as much as the friend dynamic might be key and influential in recruiting his services to join a squad this offseason, such as in Houston, because you have CP3 and one of the Banana Boat brothers, per se, it might not be as influential and huge of a factor as we think. And I think L.A., the bright lights, for me, I would want to be donning, I think, that purple and gold. I think I would go and join forces with the Lakers and I guess just deal with the headache that LeVar Ball and Lonzo would create, because LeVar, if he's still there with his son, they're going to create some headaches for LeBron.
I don't know. That's an interesting statement. But what I will say is that, this is no pun to LeBron. I can't get on the court and do what he does, but he's kind of getting to the latter part of his career. He's been in the league for so long, and, if he makes it with his son, let's just say he's in the league for 6 more years. Well, in comparison to the number of years he's already put in, that's still the latter end of his career. So I think when you talked about maybe friendship is not the big determining factor, I think you're right. I think family and what makes him comfortable personally from a family perspective, especially since he plans on his son going to the league, then his decisions could really be made within, the 4 corners of his home, speaking with his wife, looking at, his close friends, his agents, what his business is doing, what type of growth they want to see. And you're right, friends may have nothing to do with the ultimate decision.
And you know what? He can join any team and make them so much better, make them like an Eastern Conference title contender, Western Conference title contender. And I guess as a hypothetical question for the Pistons' sake, if they were able to recruit his services, which has no chance of happening. Okay, let's not even really start and get too invested in this. But I still have to ask you, even after I said that, as a hypothetical for you and everybody out there, if they added LeBron with his current core, would they be able to become at least Eastern Conference champions? What do you think about that feasibility, Blair?
Woo! Would they be able to become Eastern Conference champions? I think so. With LeBron James, actually, yes. I'm going to say yes, because we have seen LeBron James on the floor, and he is a one-man show out there if he has to be. So to have a supporting cast that can help him, yeah, I think the Pistons have a great chance, not to mention coaching dynamics.
How about that? When you have a new hire, right?
A new hire, and not only a new hire, and I know we'll probably ease into this a little bit more, but voted the best coach in the league. So I think the Pistons definitely could with LeBron.
And now, who would you like to join? If you had it your way, if you were LeBron James, which team would you join forces with?
Woo, I don't know. I really don't know, because I like to research things, and I like to get my facts together. And if I make a decision, it's based on what I think is logical. And I don't really understand the dynamics of what he has going on off of the court to really make that decision. He's going to be fine wherever he goes. If I'm LeBron, I'm going to be good wherever I go. So it's what offers the most benefit to me, and where am I in the stage of my career. He's won championship rings. It's like, what is it? To kind of the offspring a little bit, when KD was at this defining moment of his career to figure out which direction he was going, he had to make a decision personally, but he had never had a ring. He had never won a championship. LeBron James is in the place where he's done that multiple times. So I really can't say where he goes, because I think it definitely is more of a business decision at this stage in his career.
For me, give me the bright lights and the sunshine in L.A., baby. Los Angeles, California is where I want to be at all day long. And speaking of Kevin Durant now, transitioning to that a little bit here while we have some time left in this week's episode of Sports Talk Soup. Katie, did he ring chase when he joined the Warriors? I really believe he did. He hadn't won with OKC, was so close to getting to the NBA Finals. The Thunder were up 3-1 when he was on the Thunder, lost to the Warriors ultimately. Then he joins forces with the team he lost to in the Western Conference Finals. You've got to be kidding me. And it was a different dynamic than when LeBron joined the Heat. The Heat weren't that great team yet. They weren't the team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals and on the rise and on the cusp of reaching the NBA Finals and maybe winning a championship. Durant had that situation in OKC presented to him and still decided to leave town and join forces with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson in Golden State. So for me, I think that was ring chasing, to get into that a little bit here. And I think it takes away a little bit of the luster of this dynasty that has become for Golden State, that has become a dynasty. I think it takes a little bit away from their luster and from the dynastic conversation regarding Golden State.
Well, ring chasing. It's really interesting to kind of get into that topic. somebody texted me that I hadn't heard from in a long time, and they text me, I hate KD. And I'm like, whoa, first of all, I can't go and tell him for you. I mean, unless you want me to start tweeting like crazy. And I wouldn't, because I love KD. So, you know what? You have to do, as much as basketball is a team sport, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we all have goals and standards that we set for ourselves. And the ultimate thing you can get as a basketball player is a ring. So
you would do it. You would have left OKC as well if you were Kevin Durant in his shoes back then when he decided to join forces with Golden State. Are you saying that right now to the masses here, Miss Blair Glover?
I'm saying to the masses that I would leave to get my ring. I would leave to get my ring.
So speaking of that, now that LeBron has won 3 times, do you think it even matters to him, or matters at least as significantly as it once did when he joined the Heat trying to win a championship for the first time?
I think he's a winner, so winning always matters. Does it play as important a role in his decision at this time? No. I don't think so. I'm sure he doesn't want to go to a team that's tanking. He doesn't want to go somewhere where he's going to fail.
To the Pistons? Sorry, Pistons Nation and fans out there. Had to do it to you guys out there.
Yeah, so he probably won't be coming here. If he did, that'd be really amazing. But it'd be a scary kind of dynamic in the arena, because Cleveland is so close. Those fans probably would come here, and you'd have all kind of heckler. That whole environment and dynamic would be kind of weird to me. But I don't think that the Eastern Conference can stand to lose LeBron. How about that? This is something I just came to the conclusion, kind of sitting right here. I don't think that they can afford to lose LeBron. Western Conference is so strong right now. I think for the league's sake, he should stay somewhere.
The league should tell him, Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, should tell LeBron, hey, you got to stay in the Eastern Conference. Because
I don't know if that's
legal. If you
legal.
join the Western Conference, you got Golden State and the Rockets, and we need 2 good teams, one in each conference, playing each other, right, when it comes time for the NBA Finals, which maybe would eliminate some of the luster for the Eastern Conference champion if LeBron did go to the Western Conference, because the East wouldn't be as strong, nearly as strong, obviously. But then you could make the argument, I think, easily, too, that you have some up-and-coming teams in the Eastern Conference, such as the Celtics, the Sixers, maybe even the Milwaukee Bucks, these teams that are on the rise that maybe are capable of winning a championship, if not next season, in the next 2 to 3 years.
Oh, yeah, Vito, for sure. I'm not taking anything else away from those teams, but I am saying right now LeBron is the strongest factor in the East, as proven as himself with maybe a laxy-daisy team. He was able to beat out all of those other teams, but then he got swept once he got to the championship. So I'm saying, if you look at those dynamics, the East is building and they're coming along just fine. Celtics, 76ers, love it. But I think there would be a shakeup similar to when KD left OKC and went to Golden State. If LeBron leaves the Eastern Conference, then that's going to shake some things up, at least for a season or 2, depending on the team he goes to. And we've got about 60 seconds. Right. Who knew we were going to blow through this week?
So the East is about to crumble, you're saying. Maybe the Pistons can rise then. A new head coach in Dwayne Casey. What do you think about the hire really quick?
Excellent. To be simple, and I'd love to get into it next show. I think he does a public press conference next week. One of the 2 of us will be there. I look forward to it, and I think it was an excellent decision to hire.
It's a good hire, but where do they go from here? What's their ceiling? I'm going to say 45 to 50 wins. How about you for their ceiling?
I'll let you have those numbers.
Fair enough. And a very solid episode of Sports Talk Soup this week with you, Blair Glover. I am Vito Churko signing off for another fine edition of the show.
Thank you.
Adios.
Bye, guys.